My guest today is Kate Griffiths, MBA. I'm Dominic Anglim. This is the Art and Spirituality Show. Kate is a Reiki master, a colour teacher, and a business management consultant. Kate is the co-author of Colourful Boardrooms, a transformational book on leadership. Through her company, Whole Self Leadership, Kate has pioneered an approach for visionary leaders doing world work, which integrates business and spirituality using colour. Today we're talking art, colours, spirituality, business, and everything in between. Let's talk.
Online, on the iOS and Android, on your mobile phones. Great speakers conversation around the globe. This is Relaks Radio.
Kate, you're on air with us.
Hey, great to be with you, Dom. Thanks so much for inviting me to join you today.
Definitely. Thanks so much for joining us. It's going to be a really informative hour, I feel. Now,
Yeah.
Kate, whereabouts are you based, Kate?
I live in Bedford. I just moved here. In fact, we moved here in the summer, having left our forever home, which is a beautiful converted barn in North Hertfordshire after 13 years. So I'm just exploring my new area.
Fantastic. And is it everything you hoped it would be?
Well, it's really great for my husband. He has a 5-minute walk to work.
Yeah.
Who's ever that? And my daughters can walk to school, which is incredible. It's just a mile for them. And as you know, a lot of my work is online. So in many respects, it doesn't affect me greatly where I live. The biggest difference is up until recently, I used to do regularly 6 miles, 10 miles, 21-mile walks each day because I did ultra marathons.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so obviously being in the middle of a town, it takes a bit more organising to find walks and sometimes I have to drive, which is a new experience for me.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, I think 2020 has definitely been a year of new experiences for everyone, really.
Yep. It was very funny having happened in the first lockdown. Obviously, we were all at home and negotiating who had access to which room when there's 4 of you in the house. That was quite an experience. We really got into Joe Wicks. I don't know if you've heard of Joe Wicks. He does like workouts. And he was doing
really?
free workouts every morning on YouTube. So for a while, we were religiously following them until, of course, something else happened, you know.
That's great. I mean, there's been such a an online movement, I think, really since the lockdown started in March. And it's, I guess we're living through a type of renaissance in a way. A new, maybe this is the dawn of a new consciousness, a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things.
I really hope so, Tom. I really hope so. I actually recorded a new video for my YouTube channel just this weekend following the announcement of the second lockdown, saying, what is the gift of lockdown? And, you know, why are we going back into it? And so for me, there's what's happening in the muggle world, you know, the 3D world of, you know, the R rate and the level of infection and all of that.
Yeah.
And there's what's happening at the spiritual level. And my take is we're going back into lockdown because collectively we haven't learned the lessons we were being shown by nature, that we can no longer live in this consumerist society, constantly, you know, buying and consuming, because there are a finite level of resources.
Exactly.
And we need to have a different relationship with Mother Earth, with Gaia. And until we start to really change up the way that we live. I was really struck because this weekend I was listening to an interview with a businessman based in San Diego who's a serial entrepreneur. and he used to live in New York City. And one of the things he said is when he lived in New York, he worked 7 to 7 like everybody else because that was what was expected.
Yeah.
And so there was no time for play, no time for the fun stuff. And he got to a point where he was making the kind of money he needed and he didn't want any more. And he wanted to play more tennis and golf, but he couldn't find anyone who was free to play with him because they were all just doing the work thing. And
Right.
that's one of the reasons that he moved to San Diego, because it gave him more of a better style of life. And that's all part of the waking up process.
Sunny San Diego.
You know, it's not about constant pursuit of money. There's something much bigger at play here.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said about that. Now let's talk a little bit about you, Kate, because I mean you have had such an interesting career. Starting out, of course, working for universities and working overseas. And
Yeah.
I know that you were originally involved in you got your MBA from 97 to 2000, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you were very much involved in the kind of corporate world and the very much the kind of the mindset, the kind of the thinking and the how do we approach business management from an analytical point of view, until you read a certain book that you read around the late 90s. You were mentioning to me.
That's right. So I think it was 1998. I don't know why I picked it up or somebody recommended it to me, but it was like a portal, and by that I mean an opening. I was like, wow. I read this book called The Celestine Prophecy.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And the way he talked about, as you know, Dom, I speak Spanish like you. So I've always been interested in South America and traveled there quite a bit. So that obviously was part of the wow factor, but it wasn't just the fact that it was set in South America. It was all of it. One of the key phrases, and I'm paraphrasing here, was something like that: each generation that is born has more knowingness than the generation that went before it. And it sort of really struck a chord for me, based on the experiences I had in my early life, which weren't necessarily the best.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I really believe that. And anything is possible. And I was like, and this guy did lots of healing work and working one-to-one with people. And as you said, at that point, I was a director in the university, and then I was doing my MBA. So it wasn't really on the cards. So I was like, I know I'm going to be doing coaching, therapy, facilitating. And I had no clue what that was. It just sort of opened a whole new world to me at that time.
Yeah, because you did. I mean, what kind of stands out for you in your childhood? Because I know that you lived overseas for a time in Hong Kong, right?
Yeah. So we left. I was born in London, and we left when I was 10 weeks old, so tiny.
Yeah.
And my parents were incredibly brave. They went to Australia, which is where my brother was born. They didn't know anyone, made a life for themselves. And then we had a period of time in the Solomon Islands, which was amazing, just beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
Came back to the UK, which was grim because it was dark and the rain was cold, Dom. I was like, what is this? Cold rain, because obviously in the tropics it's not.
Yeah.
And then we went to Hong Kong, and my father was there for 25 years. And
wow.
I think, every whatever your experiences are, they shape your life. So for me, part of it in Hong Kong was the great juxtaposition that this is a place you can go and make lots of money, make your fortune, because of, much more lighter tax laws, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, they had, it's a bit like Guantanamo Bay today, they had, all the Vietnamese boat people locked away behind a fence.
Crazy.
And, other sort of less fortunate people all crammed into one room in an apartment in Kowloon or something. And it just seemed wrong, really. And I suppose my initial response at that time was to become more, of a socialist. I mean, I'm very apolitical now because I thought it was about redistributing wealth. So that was one strand of my sort of understanding. And another strand was I kept going round asking myself and people, so why are we here? Why do we exist? What's the point of life?
Yeah.
Which is a fairly big question to be asking when you're sort of 6. But for some reason, I just kept asking everyone this question.
Wow.
And when I was about 11, I ended up doing this ghastly outward bound camp, which was grim. They made us like swim in the sea at 6 a.m. It was freezing with jellyfish.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Right at the end of that, we were camping somewhere and all these people, and I sort of got up and I started just talking and I couldn't stop talking. So I got the nickname, the preacher. I don't know where that's from. So it's not my whole life, but it's sort of some flavors of what was to come, although I didn't really understand it at that time.
But it's interesting because I think, like from what you're involved in now versus kind of where you came from, if you like, I'm sure that your childhood definitely, there was definitely some seeds were planted when you were younger, and it was obviously your original spirit was that of something higher, something more spiritual, something more so than just being on the hamster wheel of life and looking to make that bit of that next dollar.
Yeah, no, I remember being 16 and having a massive row, or maybe a bit older, but with my brother who was 2 years younger. And I was exactly that. I am not going to just be part of that, boomer view of it's all about accomplishment. And my brother was telling me, you're just naive, you're an idealist, what do you know?
Yeah.
That's how it works. And I was like, there's just got to be more than that. That's just heartbreaking.
But I think people are starting to look at business differently now. And I think, I commend you on your pioneering approach to integrating spirituality into business and into leadership, because it's something that's definitely needed. I think it's the Dalai Lama had a quote, and he was saying, the world doesn't need more successful business people. The world needs like compassionate leaders, leaders that are going to be focused on kindness and something more altruistic than just a capitalist model. So I was very intrigued when I was reading. You kindly send me some chapters of her book, which is called Colorful Boardrooms. And it's a transformational book on leadership for as you described it, for visionary leaders who are doing world work. And I'd love to know kind of where the inspiration for that book came and what was the process like about writing it, because I know that you released it in 2017, right?
Yeah, that's right, in January 2017. And I have to say, I could never have written it if I didn't have an amazing business partner at the time called Kath Roberts, who co-authored the book with me.
Yeah.
So our dream, we were working together. We spent 5 or 6 years in business together, working with CEOs and their top teams. So it came out of our work with organizations, and we really wanted people to have a better grasp of what colour's about, and we actually created our own colour system.
Yeah.
So that it was a simpler version of the one that I'm trained in, with less flowery language, so it would hopefully appeal more to those in the world of business.
Yeah.
So that was the reason behind it, to make really, and I suppose all of my work is about making colour more accessible to a wider range of people. Because I think what we're looking at ultimately, Dom, is why do people chase the money? Because there's a deep level of dissatisfaction or dis-ease in the body, and there's this sort of belief that, well, if I have more money, or if I have a bigger house, or I have the car, or the wife, or whatever it is, then I'm going to be fine. And that's such a load of old bollocks.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion, yeah, and it keeps you stuck in the mire, right? Which sort of in 3D reality. And so it's really about showing people that we are secure because we are not alone. Whether or not you believe in God, it doesn't matter. There is a consciousness, oneness, infinite intelligence. The divine is around us all the time. And if we learn how to connect into that, then we can relax in the armchair of the divine, and we will always be supported. All our needs will be met. And so money becomes an irrelevance at that point.
Yeah.
And we have that security. And I think the first part of all of this is essentially helping people to recognize that it's okay to feel. Emotions are just energy in motion.
Emotions are just energy in motion. I really like that. I really, really like that. So, sorry to cut you off, Kate. We're going to take
I'm probably talking too much.
No, it's fine. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back after this break. If you wanna send a message in, if you wanna send a text message in, if you have any questions for Kate about what we're talking about today, you can send a text message in, or you can call in if you prefer. The number is 075 824 73473. I'll tell you that number again. It's 075 824 73473. And you can send a text message in if that's what you prefer, or you can call in. We'll be right back after this break to talk more to Kate about colours, about whole self leadership, and about a transformational shift which is taking place right now in the world. We'll be right back after this short break. Please join us then. Thank you.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
We're back. The Art and Spirituality Show with my special guest, Kate Griffiths, MBA, joining us via phone today, talking all about colours. And she's a teacher of colour, and she's on the air with us right now. Hi, Kate, you're back with us there today.
Hi, Dom.
Hi, Kate, thanks for joining us. It was such an interesting conversation thus far. And I noticed that you keep on talking about the Maya, the 3D world. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I can try. So I suppose it's a bit like, like when, I don't know if you do this, Dom, so I do this. When I watch a film, I get really into the film and I kind of associate it with it. And if something's happening, I'm like, no, he's behind you. A bit like the pantomime, or, sort of bringing the characters on. And I'm like, I'm another part of the film.
Yeah.
And it drives my husband slightly nuts. And my daughters think I'm mad.
Yeah.
Bless them. And the reason I mention that is actually what's happening when people believe kind of that this is all there is and this is the world, and you've got to look after yourself and make sure you've provided for your family and all of that rhubarb. It's because they don't realize they're actually, it's all drama. It's just a story, and they've got so involved in it that it's the only reality they know.
Yeah, and they almost become a character in their film, a character in their little story that they play out day in and day out, don't they?
Yeah, and so then they react from that place, and they tend to make decisions from that place, and so it's just it's almost like a vicious cycle. So you get, if you're chasing the money, you want it more and more, and then there's less of it, and then you get more stressed about it, and then and we kind of end up in that space, and life is pretty hard and grim.
Absolutely.
And I suppose, and the other thing is, I think the other part of it is it comes from our childhood, which you referred to before. So the key years are between 0 and 7, and the best way of describing that is that's when what happens is we have theta brain waves in our head, so they're much slower, much more hypnotic. So when people say things, that goes right in deep, so it becomes part of our programming, if you like.
Yeah.
And because we're so young, we're not even aware of the beliefs we're taking in. So one of the first people to talk about this, I mean, lots of people have, but there's a really well-known book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I know the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy's saying, well, why is it that poor people often stay poor and rich people get richer, and they might be complete jerks? It's because of what they believe to be true in themselves, and if you like, when between those ages.
Yeah.
And so why I love colour is it's a fantastic tool for helping people to see that subconscious programming and to bring it to the surface so it can be healed and go, actually, that isn't what I believe. Because you can be saying, I want to be successful, and yet deep down you don't believe you deserve it, or that you're good enough, or whatever the particular belief and program is.
It's
and
interesting. Sorry,
color, we can see what it is, and we can heal it and shift and change.
I just wonder now, just something you said there struck me. It's interesting because you touched a little bit on these better wavelengths that we're on when we're the 0 to 7-year-olds, and I think the better wavelengths is something that a lot of people are on a daily basis, and they only ever connect to the alpha wavelengths, when they start to practice art or to do something creative, then they start to get onto this other wavelength. But interestingly, when you are on that beta wavelength, you are more susceptible to programming. You are more susceptible to creating new belief systems and things like that. And one thing I was curious about, now I took a small session of this color teaching with Kate on, I think it was on Friday, and one of my kind of questions before the session was, how much NLP does Kate use in her sessions, and that was something I was curious about, because NLP is something that I've certainly used myself over the years, neuro-linguistic programming, for positive affirmations and things like that. But interestingly, in your sessions, I'd love to know kind of what's kind of different. What is what's the difference between approaches like NLP and what you do with your color sessions?
Okay, that's a brilliant question, Dom. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure.
The way I look at it, I would say, is that NLP is a great place to start when you're going on the journey of self-development and understanding more of and gaining awareness. It's got a great set of tools, and it is just the starting point because it is very much a mind-based therapy.
Yeah.
Like CBT and other things like that. So it keeps you locked in your head.
Okay. Yeah.
And really, what I think the journey of life is all about is moving from your head into your heart. And then we talk about, in coaching terms, about the higher self. I quite like the notion of the expanded self. From our heart, it allows us to become much more expansive. So part of how I work with people, as you mentioned at the beginning, I'm a Reiki master, so I never do back-to-back sessions. I always make sure there's at least half an hour between sessions.
Yeah.
So I can make sure that I cleanse my own energy and my, whatever's been coming up with the client or what have you.
Yeah.
So I'm completely clear and there's no transference to the other person. But also I can start to tune in intuitively what's coming up, and I have a set of color cards. I don't think I've shown you those yet, but I will shuffle those for the person if it's an online session, so I can check where they are in their own energy, what's happening for them, and that can help influence the way a session goes. So the way I like to think of color is it's a really right brain system. So it's completely opposite. As you said, I used to work for PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yeah.
And the there was, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the epitome of a left brain system. And this is very much, okay, well, which color are you drawn to? What is it you see in this color? What do you like about it? What do you associate with it? What memories is it bringing up?
Yeah.
And in that way, we're allowing that person to go to that deeper place, the soul, the heart level, whatever you want to call it, and connect in at a deeper level, which is where the magic lies.
Absolutely. I love that, because I have to say that, colorful colors are so powerful. I mean, I think that's why art, when people go to museums and they look at paintings, I think that's why art is so influential and moves us when we look at a painting, because the colors in there, they have a certain frequency, they have a certain vibration, and when we see those colors, we get moved, we get reminded of probably childhood things, or favorite colors, and I think it's so interesting. It's such an interesting method to help people unblock these emotional, I guess, traumas that they had when they were younger and that didn't get dealt with.
That's it. And it's because we all have, everyone has a degree of trauma, there's personal and collective trauma.
Yeah.
And what happens is often our parents, who are our guides, aren't that emotionally literate either. So we don't learn how to process emotions. So they become either suppressed, repressed, or unexpressed.
Wow.
And so they're sitting in your energy field. And you imagine they're a bit like, although we can't see auras, they're a bit like black holes.
Yeah.
And if you imagine, not that I've ever been in a black hole, but if you got really close to a black hole, it's got masses of energy and you just get sucked into it. So it's like a drain on your energetic being that is really asking for healing indirectly. I mean, often we're not aware of it. And so once you heal that up, it gives us so much more space to be who we were born to be. And I think it's that, again, someone else that I was listening to at the weekend, Larry, this guy I mentioned earlier, said, we were always at a choice. We can either be who we were taught to be by parents, teachers, and other well-meaning adults, or be who we were born to be. And that's the ask.
That's the big ask there, absolutely. And I think it's great because when you start to give people another option, another way of living, it's amazing what can open up for them.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you're a Reiki master. For anyone who's listening and doesn't know what Reiki is, perhaps you can give us a little rundown on what Reiki is after this short break. we need to take a break. But if you're listening online or if you're following us on the Facebook Live, be sure to stick around. Kate will be giving us a little bit of information about Reiki, what Reiki is, and we'll also be talking about some of her other elements that she uses, like numerology as well. And so please join us right back after this short break. Thanks so much.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relaks Radio.
We're back, the Art and Spirituality Show. I'm Dominic Anglim, and my special guest today is Kate Griffiths, MBA, joining us in the studio. You're on air, Kate.
Hi, Dom. Great to be back.
Thanks for joining us today, Kate. It's so interesting talking to you. You've got a wealth of knowledge on so many different spiritual practices and alternative ways of healing, I feel. We were briefly talking before the break a little bit about Reiki. We were just starting to touch on Reiki, and you mentioned that you make sure that you de-energize, I guess, or cleanse the energy that you have just shared with somebody after a session. How did you get involved in Reiki, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. It was quite random in a way, because when I got married, I didn't have any holiday left. So we didn't go on a honeymoon for 6 months. And then we ended up going to Ecuador, which was fabulous. We went to an eco lodge.
Cool.
Which is amazing. And this person said, would you like to have a Reiki session? And I thought, yeah, why not? You know, up for anything pretty much. Most of the time I'll give it a go. So I had this session, thought it was quite nice, didn't really think anything more of it, got on with the honeymoon, as you do. Highlight being going to the Galapagos Islands, which was amazing.
Cool.
And then it must have been over a year later, about 15 months later, in 2004, at the beginning of 2004, my husband was called up and he had to serve in Iraq because he is in the reserve forces. And obviously that was a bit of a shock to me. And I underwent some counselling myself at the time to prepare myself for living on my own for a year.
Yeah.
Because I'd only relatively recently moved to the area we were living in at the time.
Right.
I was working really hard.
Yeah.
Didn't have loads of friends in the area, etc. And then halfway through, I also did some plans. So I did, little holiday with a group of friends and all of that kind of stuff through the year. And I decided that I wanted to get to know people and I wanted to start making a shift in my life. So it's a bit like when I read the Celestine Prophecy, and I found myself in the local crystal shop, which I'd never bothered going into, wasn't entirely sure what it was, why I was there.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing Reiki level 1.
Interesting.
With this woman who was as mad as a bag of frogs or whatever. But, I'm glad I did it, and I learnt loads, and I started doing a meditation course at the same time, and I thought it was a load of old nonsense, frankly. I used to turn up for this course, the meditation, and everyone else was like, oh, and I saw this, and I was in the wood, and then this happened, and I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm not having any of those experiences. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start, if you like, in many respects, of my activating my spiritual self 16 years ago. Can't believe it.
Wow.
And then a year later, I did my Reiki level 2 with a different person because I didn't really want to go back to the mad woman.
Yeah.
I met this other lovely lady, and we were talking it through about how it was going to be and who else was on the group and so on. She said, would you like a healing session beforehand? And I hadn't really used my Reiki level 1 that much, and oh yeah, no, that would be quite nice, why not? Anyway, so I go along and so basically Reiki is the transference of energy from the universe, so you connect in, if you like.
Yeah.
And for me it comes through my hands and goes out, and I sort of into someone else's body. So I kind of tune in, and if there's a really cold spot, then I spend more time there. And I also have a set of dowsing rods, so I can show people, we have energetically a set of chakras.
Yes.
So if people don't really know what it is and they're really at the beginning of their journey, I show them how open or not their chakras are using my dowsing rods. Cool. And then when I've done Reiki on them, I can show them what's happened. So that gives them a real sort of doubting Thomas, real life experience of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to 2005 we're in now, and Hazel, I think her name was, she did a session on me. And she said, oh, I noticed something in your abdomen, and you really needed some healing there. And the thing was, lost a baby in August 2003. And I never, because I worked at PwC, it was all about, they wanted their pound of flesh. It was a bit like,
Sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. I mean, it is a long time ago now. But at the time, I just ignored it, had a small bit of surgery and carried on working.
Yeah.
So I'd never really grieved the loss of this baby. There were a few times when I felt really bad at seeing other, small babies and stuff like that, and I didn't have one, and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And she did this powerful healing. And then shortly after that, I got through the process of doing the course. Part of what you get is attunement, so you get symbols placed inside you as a way that you can be activated and then can support other people, in their activations, if you like.
Yeah.
And I was having my attunement, and I heard this voice, and it was really loud. And it said, you are going to step into your power when you become a mother. And I just thought it was hilarious, because I thought, I'm not becoming a mum. I've lost one baby. I'm not really, and I wasn't really that bothered about actually, how some people really want to have children.
Yeah.
And I said, my husband really wanted children, and I wasn't so sure. And I said, look, if it happens naturally, that's fine, but don't get any ideas. I'm not doing any of that turkey basting rubbish, when you have to inject yourself with whatever. I said, so that was the deal. And literally, I finished the Reiki course, and I'd also got these sort of a card of new beginnings and stuff as well, which was really interesting. Spring and new birth and all of this sort of stuff. And what we were asked to spend 21 days or 30 days, I can't remember now, detoxing. So I had no alcohol, just to integrate all the energies.
Yeah.
So I did all of that. And then I ended up going to Findhorn, which is a community in the very northeast of Scotland, which I'd always wanted to go to. My husband didn't want to go, so he was off doing some, gallivanting around some field, doing army stuff, which was no interest to me.
Yeah.
So I went to Findhorn. Had a fabulous time doing Experience Week. I had one glass of wine because I was out of my, sort of detox month. Felt really sick, couldn't understand why. And then I came back and I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant. And because I never had morning sickness with either of my children, I never
Whoa, that's amazing. That's so cool.
That was it.
That is so cool. I love that story. And so then, after that, then was it soon after that you decided to get to become a Reiki master, or?
No, it wasn't actually. So I did all of that, and I also did I trained in some Indian head massage. I think it was
Very cool.
softening me up, because I was quite sort of focused, ambitious career woman.
Yeah.
So, I had an initial view that having a baby was just like the next management consultancy project, and I could manage a project. I soon realised it wasn't like that really. And so I got really into sort of being a mum, and I guess the spiritual stuff kind of took a bit of a back burner.
Right.
And it was only when I'd left PwC the second time in 2012, and I took sort of 6 months off and did various other things, and then I started whole self leadership, and I reconnected with Kath, who became my business partner, because we'd met in 2009 or 10, I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And she was already a Reiki master and teacher, and so I ended up doing my Reiki master with her in 2013.
Wow. And so then I guess the spirituality thing, it kind of crept up on you. It slowly started making its way into your life. I mean, through these different courses that you were doing, because I know that you, sorry to interrupt, but I know that you started learning about colors and the teaching of colors around the time that you met Kat. Is that right?
Yeah, so Kath was my colour teacher, and I ended up randomly we were supposed to be running a leadership development program over 2 days for a group of people in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Following a really successful one down in Somerset, which is where she was based.
Yeah.
And we didn't get enough people signed up for it. And I really felt I wanted to honour the commitment we'd made to a friend of mine at the time who had this beautiful space where we were going to be running the leadership development retreat.
Yeah.
Because she needed the money from the rent. So I said to Kath, why don't we just do 2 one-day workshops? I'll do a day. So I did a soul retreat, and she did a day, which was a colour workshop. So that was my first proper experience of colour, and it was mind-blowing. I just loved it. I didn't really understand what had happened. I thought it was amazing, and I remember feeling lighter and more energized. I still had all the same issues that I'd had at the beginning of the day. I felt that I was much more resourced and more able to deal with what I had to deal with. So I was like, there's something in this colour and I don't know what it is. And even though I was an NLP practitioner, I had, I did appreciative inquiry, I had done any number of courses, coach, I was a qualified coach, and all these other courses. I mean, part of me was like, oh, you don't need another qualification. And then there was another part of me going, I'm just so intrigued. I'm really keen to become a colour practitioner, and learn how to work with colour. And so that was that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love how it all kind of connects up. And I mentioned as well that you also use numerology. For example, the little short session that we had on Friday, you used numerology. Now, I'm sure listeners out there might be listening in and they might be saying, oh yeah, numerology. I've heard of that. Can you give us a little brief kind of description of what numerology is and how it makes its ways into your sessions? I'm gonna ask you for that information, but I'm gonna ask you to hold on to it until just after this short break. I keep on doing that, Kate. Sorry, I'm like ask you a really long question and then
you're gonna have to wait.
I will get better at that.
No, it's fine. I love having the heads up, plenty of time to think about what to say.
That's good. And also, if there's people listening and they're enjoying the show, they might be thinking, "Hey, I want to call in. I want to send a message. I want to talk to Kate." If you do want to make contact with Kate, you can go to wholeselfleadership.com. That's her website, and you can definitely make contact with her on there. You can also, if you want to talk to her today, while we're on the show here, and if you have any questions for her about anything to do with what we've been talking about, you can give a text message in or a phone call. We're on 075 247 3473, and you can speak with Kate directly. So we'll be right back after this short break. Please join us then. Thank you.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relaks Radio.
It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relaks Radio. Tune in to Relaks Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relaks proudly presents Relaks Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relaks Radio.
We're back. The Art and Spirituality Show. I'm Dominic Anglim, and I'm joined today via phone. My special guest is Kate Griffiths. Kate, you're on the air with us. Hi, Kate.
Hello, sweetie.
Thanks for joining us. It's been such an interesting conversation we've had today. I'm learning so much, and I think our listeners are as well. I'm sure they are. And we just before the break, we were just touching on numerology. This is something that you use in your sessions as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure, Dom. So how it works on a number of levels. And I think when I'm just giving people a taste of the session, as we were doing the other day,
yeah.
Obviously, if it's online, it's very hard for people to see all 87 bottles and the 45 spritzers.
Yep.
So what I do when I speak to people is ask them to, after they've gotten to a particular emotional state, to pick some numbers between 1 and 87, because every bottle in the system has a number. And that helps me to then pick out what it is that they're tuning into and help them to see what sits behind whatever the issue is that they've brought to deal with. So it's a really good way of getting into that deeper subconscious place we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So that's at that basic level, and it actually goes a lot deeper. So when I work with people, I ask people to sign up for a minimum of 6 sessions, sometimes 9 sessions, depending on what the issue is and where they are on their journey. And I start that process by sharing with them their colour DNA blueprint. And that is based and worked out on by taking their dates of birth
Yep.
and translating that into colour.
Okay.
And that shows me what blocks there are in their system. And depending on how old they are and what work they've done, they may be aware of some of them, and some of it may be quite new information. And then it links to Goethe in the 18th century, came up with this thing called the colour wheel, where he showed which colours complement which colours. So which colours are opposite which colours. So for example, violet or purple is opposite yellow,
Yeah.
red is opposite green, and so on. And so then once I've got somebody's colour DNA blueprint, I can then see what their shadow side is, which is based on their complementary colours. So that's another line up behind.
Yep.
And then the wonderful thing, because colour is such a positive therapy, really, is it's the whole point of doing all of this work is to get to your 5th dimensional, 4th, 7th dimensional, depending on what bottles turn up.
Yep.
So, the promise of who you are at the end of all this. And that's the 3rd line. So that's broadly the process and journey I take people on to really get much more a sense of their essence and their energy, to activate them, and also to clear any stuff that's holding them back.
Fascinating. And I have to say, folks, it really is. It's a very enlightening experience, and I can't really describe it except that I definitely felt lighter. Afterwards, like something that you said,
Yeah.
Kate, when you first had your first session, that you
That's
felt
it.
lighter too. So it's I definitely encourage people to check out Kate's website, wholeselfleadership.com, and be sure, if you're working in business, perhaps you're working in business management, I would definitely recommend reading Colorful Boardrooms. It seems full disclosure, I've only started to read it. I'm only on I'm only actually on the 2nd chapter, but I'm loving it so far. I will be buying a copy, I think, on the back of the free chapters that Kate kindly shared with me last week. I think I will get myself a copy of that. That's available on your website. Is that right, Kate?
You can get it on the website. Also, you can get it through, I think I've just run out of copies. So the best place to go is Book Depository, Wordery, or of course Amazon have copies as well.
It's on Amazon as well. That's great. Well, be sure to check that out. And I think, this is the time. This is the time to be looking at these things. What does spirituality mean to you, Kate?
All right.
That's a bit of a broad question. Well, if you
No, it's a perfectly valid question. I think for me, it enables life to be much more fun. And
Nice.
See the many layers of life rather than just one layer. So to give you a recent example, 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to go on holiday with my family to Sardinia.
Yeah.
Literally 2 days beforehand, the government, in their wisdom, took Italy off the safe list. So if we had gone, we would have had to quarantine 2 weeks after we got back.
Yeah.
And my husband's job is such that wasn't a possibility, so we couldn't go. So I was really gutted and inconsolable for at least an hour, and a lovely spiritual friend of mine helped me to look at it differently and to have a bit of a laugh and stuff like that, and I started to shift. And then roll on 3 or 4 days, one morning actually it was one evening, my husband didn't feel too great with his heart, and he went to bed, and to sleep. And then the next morning he woke up, he still felt weird. And so he was calling 111, and they asked him lots of questions. We had to get him an aspirin. And in the end, they sent an ambulance.
Whoa.
Because they were a bit concerned, and they measured his heart rate and it was irregular and stuff like that. And he was taken into the Bedford hospital. And he's now going to get treatment, and it's going to take some time, and we don't need to get into that. The point of it was that I thought, I'm so grateful we didn't go to Sardinia, because although I speak fluent Spanish, my Italian is pretty ropey. And I was like, if we'd been in Italy and this had happened, I don't know I would have had the language necessary to explain it and to get him the help that he needed. And then would it have been a good idea to be on a flight, and all of those things?
Yeah.
Thankfully, all of that was avoided. And so there's always, I think what that illustrates is there's always a gift in every situation. Just as, we were talking earlier, you're going into a second lockdown and lots of people are scared or sad, and all sorts of feelings about it. And yet it's that ability to, so when we talk about resilience, to bounce back. And it's because we're not on our own, like I was saying. And so we don't have to get it right first time or put ourselves under so much pressure. It gives us more space. There's more spaciousness.
I like that. It's definitely a blessing in disguise. I mean, because it wouldn't have been the relaxing holiday that you thought it was going to be. It would have been stressful. It would have been super stressful. Right. But listen, I know that you work with adults. I know that you work with business leaders and things like that. But what are sort of programs that you're involved in? Because I know that you also do a lot of work in schools, right?
Yep, that's absolutely right. So let me share that with you just briefly. 2 years ago, I was out walking, and I just got this idea that we needed to do some work with young people, because they are leaders of tomorrow.
Yep.
My childhood wasn't the easiest, and I have 2 beautiful teenage daughters now, so I was very aware of it. And one of my daughters has had a number of really difficult things to get accustomed to, if you like. So she's dyslexic, dyspraxic, and has processing issues.
Okay, yeah.
And a nut allergy, etc., etc. So there's all sorts of things going on there, and we've been on a journey with her. So two years ago, I was like, we could. And when I was working with Kath, which I was at the time, everything we did is, the book's colourful boardrooms. We had colourful supervision for coaches and business leaders. We had colourful connections, all sorts of different things with the word colourful. And I thought we could have colourful classrooms. It's illiterate work. Yeah. And so I was really excited. I got back and I messaged or rang Kath, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we could do that." That. And then I started to map things out. And then because we love designing things together, she came on board with me, and we put together an 8-week program for young people. And then we were really lucky. Through some other contacts, we got into a school and we ran the 8-week program. So it's 2 hours a week. It's quite a big commitment. So we worked with people that were autistic or on the spectrum or were being really badly bullied.
Yeah.
And so in that first session, we had young people who were hiding their head in their hands because they didn't want to talk to anyone. And by the end, even those that were really withdrawn were able to hold a conversation in a group. So that's how much of a shift there was in that time.
Yeah.
So that was that program, and we triangulated the data. We did something with the staff, that worked with the young people. We did something with young people themselves, and we also got to see the parents and get their take both at the beginning and at the end, so that we knew there was some real evidence for people that need that about what was happening. So that was one thing. And then as a result of doing that, we realized that there was a real need to work with parents.
Yeah.
Because often the issues that young people have is because of where their parents are. So we developed a whole program for parents, which we tested and got some brilliant feedback on as well. So there's that too.
Excellent. And are the programs that you were running with the schools? I know there was one called Colourful Classrooms was one. That was for young people, but I know you ran another one called Colourful Rocks. And this
Colour
was
Rock. Colour Rocks is, that's
Colour Rocks, yeah.
And there's also, I developed some stuff after I left my partnership with Kath. That was for personal reasons on her side, which I know she wouldn't want me to necessarily mention on air.
No worries.
But because, you know, we fell out, we were still connected as individuals and friends.
Sure.
I got together with somebody else for a number of months, and we put together a masterclass that we could run in schools, just 1 hour for all kids, so up to 100 young people, which
Excellent.
is good, called
Excellent.
Rainbow Resilience. And it's also something that could be adapted for, I think, so that's sort of often 12 to 13-year-olds, they're transitioning into, you know, becoming teenagers and starting to shift, and all the way through that. And then for young people at uni and into early adulthood up to 25 is another time when things aren't necessarily certain. And
Big
it's
time.
all about just bouncing back on that emotional resilience.
Yeah.
And actually coming up at the end of the month, I'm starting a new program for coaches and leaders who do world work, which is called Super-Vision, because it's about helping people to find their super vision, as well as being a safe space and oasis where they can come and share. Because a lot of the people that work for themselves, they may be a solopreneur and on their own. And actually, it's really important to be part of a group and find a community where you can share stuff and grow and evolve in your practice.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. I have to say, congratulations, you know, for these different programs that you're running. I think it's so important to be working, you know, not only with business leaders, but also with children, and also with schools, and definitely with parents, because, I mean, hey, you know, that's what happens when children leave schools. They're going to be at home, and that's when they're getting a lot of their belief systems is when they're growing up with their parents, isn't it?
That's it.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a very interesting call, I have to say. And be sure to check out wholeselfleadership.com. I'll supply some more information on Kate's practices and different things that she does in the following hour. But Kate, thanks so much for joining us.
You're so welcome, Tom. It's been brilliant being on here. And just to say, if people go onto the website, they can do, if they want to find out a bit more about colour, there's a free colour quiz on the free stuff page. So I really recommend that as a way in.
Great.
And there's no hook or anything. It's there for people's delectation and a bit of fun.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to be right back after this short break, folks. But I think we can all agree that it's been very enlightening having Kate on the show today. So thanks so much for joining us, Kate. We'll talk again soon, okay?
It's been lovely being with you. Thanks for having me, Dom. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and you go well. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon, Kate. We'll be right back after this short break.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relaks Radio.
It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relaks Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relaks Radio. Tune in to Relaks Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
We're back. The Art and Spirituality Show. I'm Dominic Anglim. And my special guest today was Kate Griffiths. Thank you for joining us today, Kate. It was such an interesting conversation we had. She was telling us all about her company, Whole Self Leadership. And Kate is a coach and a color teacher, and she works with visionary leaders doing world work. And she also works with children in schools, with parents, and with teachers, and using color therapy for people to get in contact, get in touch with their emotions and perhaps emotional blocks that they might have developed throughout their life. And through her color teaching methods, she is able to unlock these different traumas that people have experienced, and help them to identify them, and then help them to also deal with them. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Kate is a Reiki master. Reiki is another very interesting subject, which actually uses the energy of the universe. So you're tuning into the energy of the universe, and then doing a healing for somebody. I remember I had a Reiki session one time, going back a good few years. And I remember at the time I was quite overwhelmed with life. I was doing a lot. I was working as a storyteller in the daytime. I was doing theater shows kind of 3 or 4 days a week in the daytime. I was doing like 3 hours a day. And then in the nighttime, I was doing improv shows, and I was hosting or co-hosting comedy shows. And I remember just feeling quite overwhelmed by everything that was happening in life. There was a lot going on. And I remember getting a Reiki session from a Reiki teacher in Madrid by the name of Sandra. Hi, Sandra. And it was a very very positive experience. After the session, I just felt lighter. And that's something which Kate mentioned the first time after she had her color therapy session as well. She felt lighter, and I think it's a moving of energy. It's it's tapping into an energy block that you might have, and releasing it, giving it a release, so that you can then start to free up that energy and be able to use it in different areas of your life. So very interesting stuff there. Really, really interesting stuff. What's going on? We're going into another lockdown. Oh my Janie Macaroni. I can't believe it. Oh my God. We're going into another lockdown. What's happening out there, people? Do we have any artists listening today? I'd love to hear from you. If you've tuned in and you're enjoying the show, love to hear from you. You can send a tweet at Relaks Radio. You can comment on our Facebook Live. If you're so inclined, you can comment on the Facebook Live, and we'll be sure to get back to you. You can also send a text message if you have a question and you want to interact with the show today. You can send me a text message, or you can call in, and the number is 078 524 73473. So 078 524 73473. You can send me a message. But what's going on? We're going into another lockdown. How do we feel about that? I mean, Kate made an interesting point. She was saying about how, she thinks that perhaps on a spiritual level, that we're going into this other lockdown because there were lessons that we didn't learn from the first lockdown. I think it's an interesting way to look at it. It's definitely an interesting way to look at it. I'd be interested to know what people's opinions are on this, because like, what did you do? How was the first lockdown for you? Because I mean, it ran from kind of March in London anyway. It ran from kind of mid-March until officially, I think, around July or August, and then things kind of started to open back up again. We had some live theater, some live comedy, and that you could go out and see. But now, from Thursday, we're going into another lockdown, and a lot of venues that would have been open before are perhaps now going to close. I guess, from a viewership in person frame of mind. I think it's I think some stuff is going to close, but you might be thinking that's okay. That's all right, because the last time there was a lockdown, we learned. I think we definitely learned, certainly in the arts world, we definitely learned how to make art online. Right? People started creating. People started getting inventive. There was lots of things happening. I remember attending a tiny kitchen concert online, which was run by a friend of mine in Madrid, Nicole Hastings, who is an artist in her own right, a ceramic artist and a poet. And she was running through her living room concert series. She was running the tiny kitchen concert, which was a really, really cool concept, because what would happen is you would do an online cooking class, right? So you do this online cooking class where you're learning a recipe for the first time. You got emailed the recipe, and then you went out, you bought all the ingredients, and then you would cook the recipe on a Zoom call with other people who were also cooking. And when I did it, I was involved in the testing of it to check and see how everything was going to work. And as it turned out, I was the only person who was cooking. So I was in my kitchen cooking a Bolivian. What was it? A Bolivian. What was a Bolivian? I want to say Bolivian cake, but it was a Bolivian. I think it was Bolivian quinoa cake. I think that's what it was called, or Bolivian quinoa pie, algo quesi, something like that. And it was a really delicious recipe of this Bolivian savory pie, which had aubergines, onions, mushrooms. Now, if you're a meat eater, you could have put mince into it. I put aubergine into it because I don't tend to eat meat normally. I do occasionally, but anyway, I used aubergine for this one. It had tomatoes, garlic, and cumin. Cumin was in the mix, so it was a bit of a spicy dish. And so what you would do is you'd cook the meal, right? And then while the dish was in the oven cooking, you could actually attend a living room concert in your house. They had an online concert running. So you're in your kitchen, and then they also had a concert taking place online, also via Zoom. So that was really, really interesting experience, I have to say. Now, my question for you, dear listeners, dear viewers, is what did you attend in your first lockdown? Did you attend any interesting concerts? Did you attend, maybe you took a class? I'd love to hear from you. Give me a call, give me a message on the Facebook Live here, and let me know what you got involved in the first lockdown. Maybe you learned a new skill. Maybe you learned a language. I'd love to know what you got up to. Make sure to give me a call. It's 075 824 73473. That was a really interesting thing that I did. Tiny kitchen concerts. And check out living room concerts if you want to be able to find out some of the things that Nicole Hastings has been getting up to with her living room concerts, which she ran online throughout the first lockdown. And previously, of course, she ran them in person. Right, we'll be right back after this short break. Please join me then. Thanks so much.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relaks Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relaks proudly presents Relaks Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaksmedia.com, RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relaks Radio.
We're back. The Art and Spirituality Show. I'm Dominic Anglim. And we've had a really interesting show so far today. We had our special guest in the studio in the studio, she joined us via phone. And that was Kate Griffiths from Whole Self Leadership. And she was talking all about teaching colours, the process of teaching colours and doing a type of therapy using colours. And there was some really interesting points in there. I think the most interesting thing that stands out for me with this color therapy is how colors have a certain vibration, right? There's a great teaching through if you look at a painting, right? The colors in that painting, they still have they hold on to this energy and they vibrate at this energy, so that when you see a painting, you still get that feeling. You still get moved by this painting because of the colors. The colors have got this they've got this energy in them. They tap into this vibration that we connect to, that we want to connect to, maybe something in our subconscious to do with a particular color, and then that actually triggers something else that reminds us. We see something blue and we're like, oh, that reminds me of my mother's blue car. Or we see something green and it's like, that reminds me of a green toy that I had as a child. And I think, that's why I think Kate's color sessions are so powerful, because they're tapping into something which is higher, something which is in the outside of the 3D world, outside of the Maya world, and something which is connected more with our subconscious, something which is on more of a spiritual level. So really, really interesting stuff. Now, moving on, I just want to play a little bit of harmonica there, because one thing that I did throughout lockdown was I focused on music. Yeah, I put more time into playing music and singing. I also did some dancing, and I actually discovered a fantastic initiative, which is run by a couple of people who have a casting company. Now, I'm just going to talk about this for a little bit. This is see if I can get this right. The Pearson Casting. Okay, so Rosie and Jane Pearson, they actually started this collective. Okay, it's called the Collective Creative Initiative, and they started this initiative back in March, and with the idea of giving 30 hours a week of industry sessions for actors or for people who are working in the arts for free. Right now, they've got a number of patrons who are supporting them. Arlene Phillips, CBE, is one of their patrons, and this is what Arlene Phillips says of the Collective Creative Initiative, or CCI. She says, quote, "CCI is reaching out with support for everyone involved in the arts to advise, teach, and guide those who need it most, whether they're students new to the industry or professionals who find their lives turned upside down and the future looks bleak. Here, never has a project been so timely." And that's from Arlene Phillips. They also have a Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss are also patrons of the Collective Creative Initiative. Now, what is it exactly? You might be asking. Well, basically, what it is they've set up a YouTube channel, and they have various different classes that you can go on and attend these classes for free. Now, just to give you an idea, if you're wanting to find out what's coming up, for example, tomorrow, on the schedule for tomorrow, they've got a commercial jazz dance class with Josh Flegg. That's at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We've got another one called Footsteps with Jade and Jenna. That's at 12 p.m. There's a text analysis for actors workshop. That's with Felipe Boscher. Okay. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly actors contracts with Tina Kilberg. That's at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Or perhaps you want to do some belly dancing with Anna Kirakoshka. So you got various different options. Each day they've got different options on, and you can go onto their YouTube channel and you can attend these classes. They're free master classes, free dance and vocal classes, free industry Q&As, and it's up to 30 hours a week of industry sessions for free. Such an amazing idea. I discovered these guys. I discovered their Collective Creative Initiative. I discovered it probably, I think it was around March, April, that kind of time, and it was such a fantastic resource to find in the lockdown, because as an actor, you're looking for things to do. You want to take some courses, but you don't always have the money to take these courses. So it was such a brilliant initiative that they started, offering these courses for free and giving people the option to partake in them for free. Check it out. Check out their website. It's collectivecreativeinitiative.co.uk. Collective Creative Initiative. Why is it such a tongue twister for me? collectivecreativeinitiative.co.uk. Check out their website. They're also on the socials, on Twitter. You can follow them at CCI 2020. And you can also follow Pearson Casting to find out more information on that. So that's really interesting. Now, as we go into another lockdown, I think everyone is in the same boat, insofar as we're all thinking, here we go again, right? We're all thinking, here we go again. It doesn't have to be totally bad. I think it's just how we look at it. I think that if we can find a nice routine and practice some positive exercises, that this lockdown can actually be good, right? There's many different schools of thought out there. Should we be going into a lockdown? Should we not be going into a lockdown? Whatever your opinion, if you are going to be going into a lockdown and you are going to be working from home, I say, why not find a new routine and get some more arts in your life, right? Get some more positivity in your life. And you'll be happy to know that if you're a theatre fan, or maybe you're not a theatre fan, maybe you're going to become a theatre fan in the next lockdown. If you want to watch any theatre online, shakespeareglobe.com, shakespeareglobe.com, they are actually they're having some online events that you can book tickets for and watch. November 2nd to the 7th, they're having a thing called Shakespeare and Fear, which is deep night, dark night. Okay, and this is the description. It says, a night of old and new and true tales that confront our doubts and fear at this time of profound uncertainty. Ooh, that sounds intriguing. So that's on November 2nd to the 7th online. So make sure you go to shakespeareglobe.com if you want to check that out. Maybe you're a Macbeth fan. Maybe you're looking to watch a little bit, something to do with Macbeth. From the 5th until the 11th, you can watch Macbeth at Conjuring. And this is with, they say, join Michelle Terry and Paul Rendy as they reunite with the rest of the Macbeth from 2018 for a semi-staged reading of this eerie and powerful play. So join them as they reunite with the cast of Macbeth for a semi-staged reading and of this eerie and powerful play. So that's on from the 5th until the 11th. Again, you can go to the shakespeareglobe.com to see that. And on the 8th of November, they have another event which is called In Conversation, Fear in Our Moment. Okay, and this is actually a talk by Dr. Will Tosh and a panel of thinkers and writers explore how Shakespeare coped with political and personal fears and what theatre and literature can do now to comfort or galvanize in the face of our fears. I'm laughing at fear at the moment. Struggling to read right now for some reason. So check out shakespeareglobe.com. They've got some really interesting stuff on there. There's a lot going on. I think the next lockdown is going to be a lot more exciting than the old lockdown was. You'll be happy to hear. I think people have a different mindset, a different way of looking at things this time round. And I'd love to hear from you. What did you do in your first lockdown? Were you caning it on the drinks? Were you having a few beers on a Monday evening, or were you on the health track of maybe you were doing some online yoga or some online dance classes? Love to hear what you were up to in the first lockdown and how you feel about the next lockdown. What are you going to do? Are you going to immerse yourself in theatre and the arts and spirituality? And that would be my 2 cents. That would be my advice, if you like, for what to do, because it's going to be a lot easier to cope with all of this if we can look at it in a different way. I think Kate had a great way of looking at it. She was talking about her holiday that she didn't get to have, and then unfortunately her husband had some health issues, and she said, well, hey, it was a blessing in disguise. And I think going into this new lockdown, we need to look at it that way. We need to look at it with different glasses on, because it will just make it all a lot more bearable, really. So I personally am going to be going into the next lockdown with a completely different mindset than what I had in March of this year. Oh yes. Things were very, very different back in March. I can tell you that for sure. More on that after this short break. Please join me then for more art and spirituality. We'll be right back.
Relax Radio. Oh, Relax Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট ইজ 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
The Art and Spirituality Show with Dominic Anglim. Thanks so much for joining me today. It'd be lovely to hear from you. If you're listening in on our app, join us online, or if perhaps you're watching us on one of our streaming platforms like Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo, give us a sign. Give us a sign that you're there. We'd love to hear from you if you're listening in today. We've had quite an interesting show today. Kate Griffiths joined us today via phone. She was talking all about her company, wholeselfleadership.com. Be sure to check her out. She's a color teacher, a Reiki master, and a business consultant, a business management consultant. And she does coaching for children in schools. She does coaching with parents. She does coaching with teachers. And she also does coaching with visionary leaders who are doing world work. So yeah, she's pioneered an approach which integrates business and spirituality together. Now, Kate was talking, a lot about this idea of being wrapped up in the Maya, being wrapped up in the I guess the hamster wheel world, where we get up, we go to work, and we start to become a little bit obsessed with this story of this life that we're in, and we become almost like a character in a film, but this film is our life. And this idea of disconnecting from the Maya, disconnecting from the 3D world that we find ourselves in, and connecting with something else, connecting with something higher, connecting to those alpha wavelengths. The power of that is massive, absolutely massive. And the more you can do things like that, the better you're going to feel, essentially. The more you can just stop and have some stillness and some quiet. Turn off the computer, I say this now, probably not while I'm actually on air, but perhaps after the show, you can, disconnect a little bit. It's a great idea. A friend of mine, actually, Guy Thomas. Hi, Guy. When he goes to bed at night, he actually puts his phone on airplane mode. So he's off the grid, if you like. He's disconnecting from the World Wide Web, turning off your GPS, and it's nice to deconnect from the matrix. Nice to deconnect from this global, information machine that we're always connected to, and to reconnect with the global machine, which is the Earth. See what I did there? Yeah. And yeah, I think there's a lot of power to that. Here, I've got a question. This is something which you might be interested in. What's going on with the bees? What is going on with the bees? Do you remember before the pandemic happened, everybody was talking about the bees. It was all about the bees, wasn't it? Yeah. It was bees, bees, bees. I remember doing comedy about bees. I remember actually, I guess it would have been around this time of year. It was probably November, actually. And I remember seeing a rogue wasp, a rogue November wasp. Ooh, you see a rogue November wasp? You better run, because those things are dangerous. What is it about wasps? Why are wasps so angry all the time? I don't understand that. I don't know why wasps are so angry all the time. It's always intrigued me. And bees, well, bees are a bit more chill, aren't they? Bees are happier. They seem happier anyway. They seem less agitated than the wasps are. I wonder why that is. I guess it could be because wasps, they just fly around. They don't make anything. Bees make honey, but wasps don't make honey, and maybe that's why they're so angry. Maybe that is a reason why, because they don't get to make the honey, And it's interesting, our connection that we have with bees is so interesting, I think, because bees make honey, right? Bees, they pollinate our food for us, and we take theirs. Yeah. We take their food. So that's just a little interesting exchange that we have with bees. But I remember when I was in America just a couple of years ago now, I was reading a book about birds. It was a book about gardening, actually. And it was talking about how if you want to attract hummingbirds into your garden, and it was saying, like, if you want to attract hummingbird into your garden, then what you should do is you get a bowl of sugary water, and then you put that out in the garden, and then what happens is that will then attract hummingbirds into your garden. And I was thinking, oh, that's quite cool. Get a hummingbird into your garden. And then it said, if you want to keep the bees out, right, you put this little bee guard in the flower, right? And I said, keep these pests out of your flowers with this bee guard. I thought to myself, what the hell's going on here? Who wrote this? That's a little bit biased for me. Because, like, if you think about it, hummingbirds, right, they don't make anything, because like bees, they make honey, they actually make honey. But hummingbirds, what do they make? Exactly. You can't put on your pancakes. I rest my case. A little bit of comedy there for you folks. A little bit of bee comedy. But it is interesting, like, what happened to the bees? Are the bees still in trouble? Are the bees still in danger? We don't know. They just, all the coverage on the bees basically stopped. And all the focus has been on this global pandemic that we find ourselves in. And I get it. It is important. It is important. Obviously, we gotta place ourselves. We got to talk about, the important things that are happening in the world. But I'd be very curious to know, are they still in trouble? You know, do they still need our help? I was cutting my grass there in my garden when lockdown started back in March, and I made a point of not cutting down the dandelions. I made sure I didn't cut them down because I know that the bees like dandelions. That's one of the flowers that they like, and I had to, plead the case for the dandelions in the garden because my housemates, they were like, mow down those dandelions. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because the bees, they love dandelions. So I'm not going to mow them down. And they were like, mow them down, mow them down. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't. And the bees did come. And I saw many bees in the garden, pollinating the dandelions there. Dandelions are an interesting plant. You can make tea from dandelions. This is what I did, by the way, in lockdown. I went into my garden and I planted vegetables, I planted potatoes, and I planted onions, and I also planted like pepper. I planted peppers, ginger, because I had some ginger growing in a press. So I was like, I'm just going to put this in the ground, see what happens. And nothing happened. Basically, it kind of just stopped growing at that point. So ginger was a bit of a fail. What else failed? The carrots. I had a bunch of carrots growing. Carrots are cool, by the way. If you ever want to grow a carrot, literally, you can just take a carrot and you can, you chop off the top of the carrot and you just put it in you put it in a cup of water, put it in like a little bowl of water. And within a couple of like 2 or 3 days, the carrot will start growing, right? The top of the carrot will start growing. And then after like 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to have a big old stalk coming at the top of the carrot. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start to get these like really long white roots coming out of the carrot. And then what they say to do is to take the carrot and then to put the carrot in the soil. And the mistake that I made was I should have put the carrot in the soil and had like the green, the green part actually coming out of the ground. So you have your soil here, right? And then you put the roots down there, and then you put the the green part above the soil. But I made the mistake of burying the green part under lots of soil, and yeah, they didn't grow. They didn't grow. One thing that did grow, which grew very, very well, were potatoes. Yeah, I mean, I just took a potato, a standard potato from the supermarket, and this thing was growing. It was an old potato. It was growing in my kitchen cupboard. I took it, put it in the ground. Within, I guess it would have been 4 months, I must have gotten 16 potatoes from that one potato. Pretty impressive, right? And that's what you can get. That's what you can get when you plant one potato. You can get 16. You could even get more. You could even get more than 16. So that was pretty impressive. And I ate them. I did actually eat the potatoes. I also planted onions. My dad sent me over onions. He sent me over like 12 onion bulbs. I planted them. They grew a little bit. I wouldn't say they were big growers. They did grow a little bit. And to be fair, they were already bulbs, so they were already like small onions. But anyway, I grew them a bit, and I did eventually eat them as well. They were also pretty good. But one thing I found out in the garden was, in my lockdown experience anyway, was that there was a lot of nettles in the garden. A lot of nettles and a lot of dandelions. And the dandelions, I found out that you can make dandelion tea. It's a really good antiseptic. You can drink the tea. It's really good for your throat. I didn't make any tea, but I was tempted to, and I might make some. I might make some in this lockdown. But with nettles is something that you can make a tea from. You can also make a soup from, and you can also eat them. Did you know that you can eat nettles? Right. Well, I did not, and I was blown away by this. Blown away by the fact that you could eat nettles. So I decided to eat them. Yes, I did. I took the nettles. I found a recipe. The recipe was basically you take the nettles, you put them in like a draining device. You pour hot water on them, like boiling water, and you kind of rinse off any insects or anything like that, and then you boil them. You boil the nettles. You boil them, and what happens is they basically wilt, and they kind of turn into kind of spinachy. They look like spinach, and then you can just put them on your pasta. Yeah, that's what I did. I put I boiled them. They went wilty, and then I put them on my pasta, and I ate the nettles. And I have to say, they're delicious. They were really, really good. Yeah, kind of earthy. Kind of had an earthy almost kind of roughness to them. But yeah, they were lovely. They were lovely, and I had so many nettles in my garden, so I just thought, wow, this is free food. It's free food right here. What did you cook? Did you cook anything interesting in your lockdown experience? Did you get into the garden? Did you grow any vegetables? Love to hear from you. We'll be right back after this short break. Please join me then. Thanks so much.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট is 4 times more powerful than any other media. রিল্যাক্স রেডিওতে যদি অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করতে চান তাহলে আমাদেরকে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন on 020-7474-9292. আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করুন from £99 a month. Increase your business by advertising on Relax Radio.
It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. It's time for a show on Relax Radio. It talks about me and you. So listen to us, 24 hours, and let the happiness come to you on Relax Radio. Tune in to Relax Radio.
It has been too long. No one has taken the initiative to know who you are and what you do. Well, Relax proudly presents Relax Media to unite and expose all media-related personalities under one umbrella. If you are an artist, or maybe you're looking for one, look no further. Log on to www.relaxmedia.com. RELAKS media.com. In return, you get a free webpage and exposure to wider fan appreciation and contacts. Also, optional personal manager. Don't delay.
Relax Radio.
Welcome back to the show, the Art and Spirituality Show with Dominic Anglim. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. Well, before the break, we were talking about gardening, actually. Yeah, we're talking about gardening. You know, I was asking, did you get up to any gardening in your lockdown experience? Did you know that there are microbes in soil? When you put your hands into soil, there are microbes in soil which actually acts as an antidepressant. How amazing is that? So even if you don't have a garden, even if you just, you have a windowsill or something like that, you can get some soil and you can just start working with it with your hands. And just through working with soil, you will actually start to feel happier. How amazing is that? I definitely found that from working with soil. And that's probably why gardening is so powerful, because it releases these microbes in the soil and they actually make us feel better. Yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. I want to read a little bit from my favorite book, which is the Pocket Thich Nhat Hanh. I'll just show that up there so you can see it. Am I showing the right way? I think I am. And yeah, I want to read a little bit about this. This is called Touching the Earth. And he's talking all about the benefits of getting back to nature. So this is something which is very much in tune with what we are just about to going back into another lockdown. And I say to you, get back into nature. And here's what our Vietnamese monk has to say on the matter. He says, in the Buddhist tradition I am part of, we do a practice called touching the earth every day. It helps us in many ways. You too could be helped by doing this practice. When you feel restless or lack confidence in yourself, or when you feel angry or unhappy, you can kneel down and touch the ground deeply with your hand. Touch the earth as if it were your favorite thing or your best friend. The earth has been there for a long time. She is mother to all of us. She knows everything. The Buddha asked the earth to be his witness by touching her with his hand, and when he had some doubt and fear before his awakening, the earth appeared to him as a beautiful mother. In her arms she carried flowers and fruit and birds and butterflies and many different animals, and offered them to the Buddha. The Buddha's doubts and fears instantly disappeared. Whenever you feel unhappy, come to the earth and ask for her help. Touch her deeply, the way the Buddha did. Suddenly you will see the earth with all her flowers and fruit, trees and birds, animals and all living beings that she has produced. All these things she offers to you. You have more opportunities to be happy than you ever thought. The earth shows her love to you and her patience. The earth is very patient. She sees you suffer, she helps you, and she protects you. When we die, she takes us back into her arms. With the earth, you are very safe. She is always there in her wonderful expressions like trees, flowers, butterflies, and sunshine. Whenever you are tired or unhappy, touching the earth is a very good practice to heal and restore your joy. So you heard it here first, folks. Touch the earth. And I think it's, I totally agree with what he's saying, because it's true. When you do gardening, it's now been scientifically proven that when you do gardening, you get your hands into the soil actually releases these microbes and you become happier. How cool is that? Very, very cool. Now, I was talking before about some of the different things that are going to be going on in the next lockdown. There's been lots of artist collectives that have started. I was talking a little bit about the Collective Creative Initiative, which is a really great initiative run by Pearson Casting, and they have a lot of online videos, online classes that they have on their YouTube channel. And be sure to check out the hashtag Collective Creative Initiative, and be sure to check out their Twitter, which is at CCI 2020 or at Pearson Casting, and you can go onto their YouTube channel. It's Collective Creative Initiative. Check out their YouTube channel for some classes. Some other things that you can do in the lockdown, in the next lockdown, is check out some other things that are happening. A friend of mine, for example, has got a podcast, which is definitely worth checking out. It's called The Very Small Podcast, and it's written and performed by a comedian and filmmaker from Ireland. His name is Stuart Lambert, and you can check that out on buzzsprout.com. Buzzsprout.com. That's BUZZSPROUT.com, and it's called The Very Small Podcast. Be sure to check that out. It's a very funny, very, very funny podcast. If you're looking for something for the kids, if you go to unicorntheatre.com, you can actually watch a dramatized reading of Roald Dahl's The Twits. That is available on unicorntheatre.com. I'll be sure to put a link to this on the Facebook Live when I finish my show today. So you can check that out, unicorntheatre.com. And if you're looking for some online events, be sure to check out there's some different websites that are offering different things. I mentioned earlier on ShakespeareGlobe.com if you're looking for some Shakespeare. Another great website is the creationtheatre.co.uk, creationtheatre.co.uk. They've got a few different things on. They've got something on in December, actually, which is going to be The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And that's from December 19th to January 3rd. Before that, they also have a show for adults, which is called Horatio and Hamlet. And that's online. And that's written by Nicholas Osmond and performed by Nicholas Osmond and Ryan Duncan. And that is a hilarious dark comedy. So that's for the adults, that one. You can check that out. Some other websites to look up if you're looking for different things to do. Remember the Edinburgh International Festival. Well, of course, the Edinburgh International Festival did not get to take place this year. So they've gone online. So you can check out their website to find out what they're up to. I'll be sure to put a link into this video. Also, a great website that I found is called whatsonstage.com. Whatsonstage.com. This is a great website. It's got just loads and loads and loads of different online performances which are happening at the moment right now, which have either been previously recorded or they're doing them online via Zoom. So be sure to check out that whatsonstage.com. We've also got the Manchester International Festival. That's also online. I'll be sure to put a link to that for you in today's video. BBC Performance Live. They have actually got a bunch of free performances on there. So go to BBC's website, bbc.co.uk. You can check them out. Go to Performance Live. And they've got loads of free stuff on there. Also check out list.co.uk. List.co.uk. They've got a bunch of different things that are online right now that you can check out. And then the Royal Opera House. The Royal Opera House is actually going to be streaming archived shows. Archived shows will be streaming on the Royal Opera House website. So we'll be sure to put links to all of these things into the actual show for today. So yeah, check these things out. What are you going to be doing for the next lockdown? Are you going to do it the same way that you did it last time? Or are you going to do it differently? We'd love to hear from you. And give us a message, give us a comment on the Facebook Live. And yeah, we'll be back again. Join me on Wednesday when I'm going to be joined in the studio by television actor Howard Corlett. Howard is an actor, a TV actor. He's been working in TV and television for 15 plus years. He's featured in Emmerdale. He's also featured in Doctors. And most recently, he starred in The Rook. Stars as The Rook. So he'll be joined by myself in the studio on Wednesday at 2 p.m. I hope you can join us then for more art and spirituality. I'm Dominic Anglim. This has been the Art and Spirituality Show. Thanks again to my guest today, Kate Griffiths, wholeselfleadership.com. Be sure to check her out. And yeah, we'll be back again on Wednesday for more art and spirituality. We'll see you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Relaks Radio. Whoa, Relaks Radio.
আপনি হয়তোবা জানেন না যে রেডিও অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট